Welcome back to my podcast, Gumaku Swim with the Sharks. This is going to be our first episode for 2025. And we have an amazing guest. We're starting with all the power. She's really in to save the sharks. She deals with the ugly truth of the shark market. And it's not all about having this beautiful and great picture for the gram. She's with the sharks when the things get ugly. But I will let her to tell you the story. And because also she's one of the most funniest and sassiest person I know. So welcome, Madison Stewart, to this podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. And who would not want to listen to your podcast with that accent narrating it?
Oh my God, thank you.
Like I could just listen to you talk all day. It's so adorable.
Oh my God, thank you. I think people sometimes don't understand very much what I'm saying, but it's okay.
Yes, as an Australian in America, I can relate to that.
Thank you so much, Pete. Thank you. And I really want to say, like, you're one of the person I admire the most because the kind of work you do went beyond what I was used to. And you really changed my mind, even though I met you when you were like, when I was 12 and you were like little, you were like just little peep. But you taught me so much. I feel like you really have changed. And I can't wait for our audience to learn about your story. For me, it was hard when I was putting this together to know where to start. But I think for people that they don't know all the trajectory and everything, I want to start it for like, why make you like get into the shark industry and how your story with this started?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess to make it short, I've been diving with sharks since I was a little kid because, as you know, you met my dad as well when we were both in the Bahamas. He was obsessed with sharks, so he decided he needed a dive buddy to come with him. So he raised me to also be obsessed with sharks, and we grew up diving with sharks together. And then it wasn't until I was about like 15 years old that I really started getting into conservation. So the first part of my career was just diving with sharks, taking pictures and filming it and enjoying it. And then I started to focus more on the ugly side of things happening. And my first mission in conservation was against shark fisheries on the Great Barrier Reef. And it led me to do all sorts of things around the world to try and help sharks and document all the bad things happening to them.
Yeah, because when I met you at Stuart Coves, we did more of the pretty stuff and I found you super badass, like free diving with sharks, you were super comfortable. And then you kind of took a turn. And I remember one of the first things that it really shocked me. You did this episode with this guy. I can't remember the name of the guy that killed the sharks in Florida.
Mark the Shark.
Mark the Shark. And then I was like, and you were kind of becoming friends. And was like, this is completely the opposite. Like usually people go and shame and, I don't want to talk to you. Don't talk to me. But you actually approached his story and met him and showcased him. And you were like buddies. Can you tell me about this and how you changed it, like kind of that concept?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, hey? I think, to be completely honest with you, I was getting a little bit sick of the conservation scene because when you're a kid and you're so keen to help, I remember one of the first things I did was like reach out to people that were doing shark conservation, and a lot of them were women that I looked up to. And for most of them, I didn't even get a response.
Oh, wow.
And it was a bit of an eye-opener for me. And then I started, I guess, picking up on a lot of anger towards me, and instead of collaboration there was a lot of jealousy whenever I was doing things. And it's like the sad reality of the industry sometimes, I guess. So when that started happening, I was like, you know what, conservationists aren't going to help me do what I'm doing. And this is really frustrating. So I figured I'm just actually going to go and try and do something with the people doing the bad stuff. So it was the people like kind of being mean to me that turned me to the other side of things. It's so funny to think about, but I was like, maybe I'll just try and befriend the bad people and see if I can do something from the inside out, seeing as I'm not getting help from anywhere else. And Mark the Shark was the very first kind of person that I reached out to. And I remember the first time I emailed him and I was like, I don't like what you do. I love sharks and I'm a vegan. I don't like you. And he wrote back and he was like, cool, do you want to come on the boat? And I was like, yeah, I want to come on the boat. And we had so much fun together. And I just learned to, I guess, keep my emotions hidden because I knew the bigger picture was going to make more of an impact. So that's where it kind of started. It was definitely a very interesting transition, but it's effective. It's how I like to do things, and not many people are doing it that way. So
not at all. And this is what I want to ask you also, like, when you get this experience, kind of, do you judge him because he's doing exactly the opposite what you're trying to do? He's killing the sharks you love. But for his point of view, how did you approach him or inside? Like, were you judging him? How were you dealing with your own emotions, knowing that he's hurting what you love?
The only way I judged him was how he treated me. And the thing is, he's doing something that I hate. He's killing the things I love, but he has his own motivations. He's just making money, feeding his kids, like we all do in business. And if he could show me respect and treat me kindly, but people in the conservation industry couldn't, then why should I turn around and hate on him just for what he's doing? And that friendship, it wasn't just going to be like this thing I did. It had to go somewhere in order for me to be able to sleep at night. So that's when I was like, okay, how can I actually do something here? And eventually that friendship led the trust between us that I could take his kids diving with sharks. So that was the biggest outcome of my friendship with Mark.
And how did it work? How was with the kids?
Well, Mark was like, I'm not getting in the water no matter what, because he's been hunting sharks his whole life. So he's now,
Karma's gonna catch
yeah,
you.
he believes in karma. He's like, karma, no. But his kids, they were like 8 and 10 at the time. We took them in the water. They saw a bunch of bull sharks. They had the best time. They were the sweetest kids. And I would never wanted to talk bad about their dad. I never wanted to like make them hate their dad. So they kind of saw that me and their dad had a friendship too. And they're like, this is a safe space. So we went diving with sharks and they loved it. They loved sharks. And since then, neither of them have been involved in his business, which is still going. So I guess they got a chance to see like a little bit of the other side of the shark world.
Oh, that's very good. I'm talking about this like inside out work. Then you started your project, right? Project Hue.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
So Project Hue is, we operate in Lombok, Indonesia. Now, Indonesia is the world's largest shark fishing nation. And we operate in a small community which houses the largest shark fishery in all of Indonesia. It's responsible for about 10% of the total catch. So within that community, there's a bunch of fishermen and a bunch of fishing boats. And that was the next place out of all the places in the world that I was like, I'm going to go make friends with these people. So it started in 2018 by simply talking to one of them and asking if I could hire his boat in tourism for the next few weeks. And now it's turned into us having more than 60 employees, 12 boats, not fishing sharks and working in tourism instead.
That is very crazy. But how did you come to this idea to like, I'm going to go and talk to the fisherman? Because the concept is fishing sharks to get their food, right? That's what they were living. And you understood that if you change that, like making sharks instead of food, making like good for tourism, that was the concept like you applied?
Yeah, exactly. It was, they were making money out of fishing sharks. So how else could they make money? And if they had the opportunity to make money elsewhere, would it stop them fishing? And the biggest industry against shark fishing in Indonesia is tourism. So it was an idea that I'm not the first one to come up with it. People have done it in the past. They've done it with sharks. They've done it with other animals. And there's actually a community in Mexico of fishermen that did it themselves without any help from an outsider. They changed their boats to take people to go whale watching because there was more money in it than fishing sharks. So the, I guess, structure of the project was always there, but I just wanted to apply it in Indonesia. And it turns out as soon as the fishermen got an opportunity to do something other than fishing and they could make money taking tourists swimming off the boat and seeing baby sharks and sitting around all day smoking cigarettes and talking shit with me, they'd much rather do that than go fishing sharks.
For sure. And how was it like the turn? It was hard for you to convince them they could do a turn in the industry and they could trade fins for tourism?
At first, the only difficult thing was getting them to trust that I was coming back. I think that was the biggest thing, that they didn't want to threaten the relationship with their bosses that buy the shark fins because they didn't know that I was a for sure thing. But now I actually have boats that I've never worked with approach me, and they'll get their brother who does work for me to approach me and be like, hey, such and such wants to work next month. How do we do this? So the last 4 boats I've contracted have actually been shark fishing boats that have approached us asking for work. So it's been pretty cool to see it develop.
And what do you see in the difference in the community regarding all the connection with the sharks and with the marine life? Do you think they want some respect for it?
It's an interesting question because I think it's good to be realistic and to understand that they see sharks as something they can make money off. They'll never have this connection with them. That's not life when you live off the sea in one of these little villages, But with the kids and with some of the younger fishermen, there is definitely a change happening. They went from being so terrified of sharks to getting in the water to help us tag them and then taking pride in having the sharks alive. And I'm slowly getting them to maybe think about considering the idea of getting in the water and swimming with sharks one day, which would be amazing. But I definitely think they are kind of getting used to this idea that sharks can be friends. And through us and through the project, there's been a big change in the community, especially in the kids. They've now got like educational materials around sharks, and they've got opportunities to speak English, and they've got clean water at their school. And there's all these little things that are happening, not to indoctrinate them or manipulate them away from the life they've always lived, but just to help them, to use our privilege to help them do something other than fishing. Because the second that they are able to, that's what they choose. I have a roster where we have each boat that we hire each month, and I hand it out to the captains at the start of every year. And one of the captains that we have, he got a Sharpie and he crossed out every boat every month, and he wrote his boat every month on the roster. It was hilarious, but he didn't want to go back to fishing. He wanted to stay in tourism. So there's definitely a shift. And even if there's not a shift between them going from killing sharks to loving sharks, they definitely love tourism.
So you think this model can work, and it can be applied in other places as well, this model of switching finning for tourism?
Absolutely. I think that the shark fin buyers had it figured out very early. They know that if they go to a place where they can exploit people and offer them good money, but still cheap money for us, but good money to go fish sharks, then they have a monopoly on that community. And I guess they kind of rely on conservationists not going in there and challenging that monopoly. So that's all we've done here, is we've just gone in and we've just created a bridge between the money from tourism and the fishermen.
That's great. And yesterday I saw a quote on your Instagram that said, remember, we love sharks because we can, like we can afford to love the sharks. And then also I think you were referring to this because some people see sharks as food, as their main source. And that's one of the points I think many people in the shark industry don't understand, because we don't know the reality of these little villages, that this is to feed their kids, you know?
Totally. Yeah. And then you see these competitions where people are fishing sharks, and, it's okay to hate those people because some of them have $100,000 buy-in. You have to pay to go and fish sharks. But when we're talking about these little communities in Indonesia, if they catch a particular species and they sell that species fins, they're not eating the sharks. They're using the money from those fins to put their kids through university. Their motives for fishing sharks are different, and we absolutely love sharks because we can afford to. I'm privileged. I grew up in a very stable household where we had the time and the money to go to the Bahamas and swim with sharks. And that is a huge privilege. And that doesn't make me better than people in a country fishing sharks. It just means I had a very different upbringing. One of the fishermen I work with, he's basically like my brother, and he's one of my favorites, and he's helped me a lot. We were the same age when I started swimming with sharks. He was the same age when he caught his first shark. So it's crazy to think I was 7 years old in the water. Wow, sharks are amazing. I love them so much. And he was 7 years old with his dad on the boat, fishing, catching sharks, thinking this is how I'm going to make a living for my kids. It's all about how you're raised and what you see and how that shapes your life.
But that's what I think is very important, because from Instagram, for social media, where it's all this like kind of shark movement, it's easy to hate on the fishermen's, But when you really, I think you need to understand their motives and what is behind it, because I guess to feed your family, you will do absolutely anything. So that's what I think I admire a lot of your work, that you are not just pointing out people and trying to say you're doing bad, these people is savages. You're trying to, get in, understanding their true motive, and from there to create a change. So I think that's super, super powerful.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think people on Instagram, especially the people that follow the project, they're starting to see it the same way. And people are really liking and getting on board with that mentality. I think there's way more understanding for these shark fishing communities than there ever used to be. And I think people are realizing that a hashtag that says stop shark finning is not going to do anything to actually stop shark fishing.
Thank you. And that's one of the things that I think frustrates me the most, because it's not about like, okay, you are finning sharks, you are the bad guy, and this community need to stop doing it, but saying, why are you doing this? Okay, let me fix it. Let me trade it. Let me, instead of, we're going to find money other way, but not just, I feel sometimes, I wanted to ask it to you this, like, what about, like, what do you think the errors on the Save the Shark industry is happening? Because it's many things I think it's just in the air, and not doing much and the efforts are
Shit.
going like kind of wasted.
I could start some shit on this topic. Damn. I think everybody's got a great intention. That's the most important thing. And I think that it's really cool that people want to save sharks. But Instagram, social media, and especially some of the big shark people out there, they're creating this fast-paced activism that looks good, that can raise some money, but it's not actually doing much. Because when you get angry, you're not actually going to achieve much. You need to look at the bigger picture. You need to understand things. And with Project Hiu, instead of just coming in and being like, okay, here's some money, stop fishing, we actually put money into having a shop that tourists could come into and pay the boats directly to stop fishing. And that has made it sustainable and made it grow. And it takes a lot of time and energy and effort to do those things, but none of that looks good on social media. I'm incredibly lucky to have the following that I have, but there are so many people out there with like no Instagram followers because they're doing real shit to save sharks. It doesn't look good on Instagram. It's hard, and there's no cool picture of me typing up a grant or painting the walls of our shop in Indonesia. It all has to be like the beautiful, amazing shark shots, and they have a place. We love seeing those shots and people seeing those shots and seeing sharks in a different light. That's important, but it's not necessarily conservation. Real conservation doesn't look good on Instagram, and it's a shame because there's so many scientists and amazing people out there doing great things that'll never get the recognition they deserve.
And also about this, when I see you with the sharks, like dead, when they're carrying them, that doesn't look too good on the social media. But for your inside, like, how do you feel when you start getting out of seeing and swimming with sharks and getting with the dead sharks and, having blood in your hands?
So funny you say that because I remember when I came to Stewart Cove one year, because we would come every year, right? And I saw one of our friends there and she was like, are you okay? Like, does it affect you to be doing that and to be around dead sharks? And I had to think about it for a second. And I was like, actually, it doesn't affect me because this is where I want to be. It feels really good to be bringing awareness to this. I want to be posing next to dead sharks so people look at it, read the caption, learn more, understand that it's happening, more than I want to be around live sharks posting something beautiful that might go viral. So for me, it's so important, and I actually enjoy bringing awareness to it. And I think you just have to have a tough skin as well. Recently, when our shark Raisha, who we tagged and released, when she was caught and brought in, that was the first time that I had like a wee mental breakdown at the market and really cried and really felt it. I've done a really good job distancing myself from the animals for a long time so that I could go to places like that and do stuff like that. But that one broke me. Having an emotional connection to that shark was very difficult and very upsetting, but it's all worth it when people witness what's going on. And I, without sounding like I'm buying tickets to my own show, I do think there's a lot more people kind of aware and helping and contributing than there used to be because of these graphic images that we're putting out on social media.
So you think all these images, when you put them more raw, are getting good, you're getting a good feedback?
Yeah, most of the time, most of it for sure. And it's all about the message you put with it, right? It's about this message of like, yeah, this is a terrible thing, but the captain of this catch went and caught it so he could pay for this, this, and this. And the beauty of like the images that I post is that I have the conversations with the fishermen afterwards. And that's everything, because then we can explain what's going on. During the pandemic, tourism shut down in Indonesia and all my boats went back to fishing, and it was heartbreaking. But I flew over there. I left the safe space of Australia and flew over to Indonesia. And I went every day for like 2 weeks to the market, and I just filmed them bringing in catch. And every day I would be like, what's this for? What's this for? What's this for? And the captains would tell me, boss, now that we don't have tourists, I'm paying for my son to go to school, so I had to go fishing. So that's when we started our program of sponsoring students to go to university, to take the pressure off the dads to go fishing to pay for the university. So little things like that we learnt while we're capturing these images and while we're in the market posting all this gory stuff, we're also learning, we're contributing and raising awareness at the same time. So I'm very grateful when people go and like that content and watch that content. And then every now and then I get someone send me a DM, be like, why are you killing sharks? You're a monster. Those are low-key my favorite because they kind of make me giggle. Sometimes I just buy into them and I'm like, because there's too many sharks, we gotta kill them.
Oh my God, of course you do. Of course.
You gotta have fun with it. But yeah, every now and then people get a bit confused and think that I'm posting my catch. So those are fun days.
No, this, and why it is important? What was personally important for you to save the sharks? What made you like decide that's what you're gonna do with your life?
Oh gosh, why do any of us decide that? Because we see them in the water, we swim with them, and we feel altered. Diving with sharks is like an excellent mushroom trip. You're never going to be the same afterwards. You're going to realize that there's animals out there that deserve protecting, that have been around longer than we have, that are incredible and deserve to be in our ocean. I've had that since I was a little kid. And I know this is really difficult for you to believe, but I was kind of like a weird little kid, like really anti-social.
Very, very hard to believe.
I know, shocking, absolutely shocking. But I always felt at home and at place with sharks. It was always like this cool thing that I did that I really felt fulfilled doing it. And I grew up with this love for this animal, and that's just stayed with me my whole life as if it's like where I belong.
And what's the most impacting truth you are being learning about the sharks, our shark industry?
I'm gonna get controversial here, but the most impacting thing I've learned is that a good percentage of the people that I've met in this industry don't actually give a shit about sharks, and they like the way sharks make them feel and make them look, and the money that they make them. But when it really comes down to it, those people don't give a shit about sharks. And if you have any emotional intelligence, Instagram is basically a giant mood board for those people. You can tell pretty quickly who's there to exploit the sharks to go viral and who's there to actually give a shit about them and save them and do something that's going to make a difference. And hey, if you love sharks and you just want to dive with them and post cool content, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't call it conservation, because it's not. So the hardest thing for me has been growing up with this deep care that I'm so emotionally connected to, and then seeing people fake it and not actually care about sharks.
So yeah, you see the problem is not about people doing it. It's just calling it conservation and using this for more people to follow. And you think people, like regular people, it's just fall for it? Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're kind of stupid, eh? Like,
I mean,
as humanity, like, let's say it, we just fall for this shit.
I don't know if anyone else does this, but like when I see a page where there's like lions or gorillas and someone's conserving them, if they've got like a ton of followers, I'm like, I bet this person's like not actually doing anything, and I don't know. And I
they're wasting too much time like growing their Instagram instead of actually saving. If you're saving, you don't have time for social media.
Believe. Exactly. So I always message people, I'm like, is this person legit? What have they done? What are they writing? What do they care about? And it's hard. And yeah, like I said, it's totally fine. There's some cool people out there. Like I have friends here in Florida that just love sharks and they just want to post pictures of sharks, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, yeah, the problem is these people who are like, I'm a conservationist. I care deeply about the protection of sharks. And we as a society, thanks to social media, we're confusing content creation with conservation, and they are not the same thing. Okay. And it would be really nice if those people who are really good at content creation, because there's people out there that are great at it, if they would actually devote their time to organizations doing good stuff, they could shed light on it. And I think that's one of the biggest tells is when you've got someone with a huge following that loves sharks, if they're not posting about all these other organizations doing amazing things, or they're not actually going deeper than just posting the pictures of the sharks, what are their motivations? For me personally, it's been difficult because I've obviously been involved in sharks since I was a little kid. And then there's all these people that have come into the industry within the last couple of years, and all of a sudden they like care so deeply and they're so emotionally attached to the issue. But in reality, they're just looking for something to attach their personality to. And damn, I got a bit harsh just then, but that's some truth that I just had to spill.
Of course, what we can do about these people, Mari, tell me, and I'll send my people from Chile.
Just I just let them do their thing. I think it's like I said, I'm very grateful for the following that I have, because I get to share the message that I want to share. But I do feel bad for people that have been involved in scientific research for their whole life, and they'll never get as much attention on the important work they're doing as someone that's writing.
But you know what? I feel you because I'm on the list of people, and I have a great ladies coming next that they're kind of scientists, and then in the Instagram they have like 3,000 followers, or very low, but it's because they really dedicate most of their time like doing work on field. And And yeah, but it's kind of frustrating. But what we can do, how this can change? What will be your like way to try to direct the attention in the right direction?
For me personally, I like to look at beyond Instagram, like some of the organizations that I really love and respect that have no following on Instagram. They're often featured in TV shows and documentaries because their work is worthy of that sort of thing. So it's cool to like learn by watching documentaries. I think we've kind of gotten out of that space now and we just watch reels. Watching documentaries and shows about things is a really good way to figure out who's doing what. And, you know, if you just want to follow people with cool content, that's sick. Do that too. Do your thing. But like, it is disheartening to see what the general public would rather see. And it's always exploiting an animal will always go more viral than saving one.
And then what do you think about Shark Week? I had to ask you this because I know it's been out there for you a couple of times. Sometimes you rejected it. And I wanted for you to explain what was your process of thinking. And, you know, you could have earned a lot of money many times.
Yes, thank you for acknowledging that. This is a great question, and I'm going to be completely honest with it. So I always used to be like, no, Shark Week sucks. Screw Shark Week. I'm not being involved. And I said no to a lot of shows that could have propelled my career, put me on TV, paid me well. And I stand by that. And then the pandemic happened. And I don't know where people get this idea in their minds that we're all running around out here like rich people just diving with sharks and traveling the world. But I was dead broke during the pandemic because my only form of income, travel, was shut down. So I didn't have a choice, really. I had to take a Shark Week job and I went on it and I kind of got proven wrong because the production team that I was working with, which is Tailsmith, they were actually really cool. We actually did some real science and I got to swim outside of the cage with great whites and I met really cool people. I worked with old friends of mine and I actually had a really good time. So I realized that I was just being a little bit stubborn in the past. And since then, there's been shows that I'm still like, I'm not going to get involved in this. I'm not going to do this because it's a little bit too far on the Shark Week side of things. But the honest truth is that behind the scenes, there are some good things happening there. Shark Week has invested a lot of money into propelling research and exploration of certain things regarding sharks. So there is good and bad to it, but I saw a lot of the good and I'm very keen to be more involved in the future. It's not the first place I would like to be involved or the first thing I would like to do, but I had to pay the bills, so I sold my soul and it's that simple.
No, I'm sure you didn't because I'm sure you had parameters, you know, and that's what I want to ask. What's your parameter to decide, okay, I'm going to go into this show? Because I know you say no to a lot of shows. And I was like, in the beginning, I was thinking, oh, she's crazy. I will kill to be in one, you know, because that will prepare your career. And trust me, you will not be broke. You will be probably like, you know, sorted for life.
Yeah.
But what are your parameters to say yes to this show, no to this show?
If I feel comfortable with the team I'm working with is the biggest one. So there's definitely like the scientist involved and the who we're diving with, the company we're diving with, and the team we're working with. So it's a lot to do with the production company. And the ones I've worked with so far have been really great and they care about sharks and they have good safety involved. And the people that I work with, like Craig, scientist, Dr. Craig O'Connell, and Paul DeGelder, like they're all people that I love and trust and I respect their work and I would work with them again for sure. I think that it's going to be difficult for me to get jobs in the future because I don't say everything that I'm expected to say and I don't always like, I'm good on TV when I'm passionate about something, but if it's not something that I'm personally like passionate about, I can definitely be a bit flat. So I think Shark Week's always going to appeal more to the people that are good at acting and being passionate about everything going on. But I've definitely lost a lot of that. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I get any jobs this year, especially after this podcast. Holy shit. We'll see.
For sure. There'll be shit for promotion. People love this stuff.
Hi, me. I'm still broke. Yeah.
And if you could put like one idea about like real conservation in people's mind, if you can plant a seed in everybody's mind, if you have the power, what that will be that you think could create a real change?
That's a great question. I think the one thing I'd want people to know that would create change is that people like me are not the only conservationists out there. You have so much power to do stuff in your everyday life. Like here in the USA and back home in Australia, there's shark meat for sale at our local grocery stores. There's shark products in cosmetics and medicine. And it's you as the consumer that we're all trying to appeal to get you guys to change your way of life to help sharks. So everyone as an individual, even if you live in landlocked middle of USA, have a huge contribution to the conservation of sharks. So I don't want you to look at people like me and think, oh my God, that's a shark conservationist and she's so good at what she does. You have the power to do that. I have the privilege that allowed me to spend time in Indonesia and get to know these fishermen, but you have power, no matter what your status is or where you are, to make a contribution to the conservation of sharks. And if we all believed that, there would be a lot more happening.
You don't think we are too late? I have this feeling that sometimes we might be late into conservation and saving and bringing our oceans back.
Love that question. I love that question. And no one asked me that because it's too doom and gloom. And the honest truth is, I don't know. Sometimes people are like, nothing's going to change. Like, you're not going to achieve anything. You're not going to stop this. You're not going to do this. And that's fine too. I thought about that a lot as a kid. Like, maybe I'm not going to stop anything. Maybe I should just eat a big steak and do some cocaine and dive with sharks and just live it up. You know, maybe I should just stop trying to be a conservationist. But I think it doesn't matter what the answer to that question is, because if we don't live our life in pursuit of making things better and pissing some shark fin buyers off and saving at least one shark or employing at least one shark fisherman, then what the heck are we doing with our life? It's not enough for me to just swim with sharks and enjoy them. I want to be part of the team doing something to help them. I want to piss people off.
That's a great question. That's so like you. I have to close with that, Pip. And thank you so much for your time. You're so great. Well, if you want to say your social media handle, I'm sure everybody that's listening to this already knows you, but if you reach so new people, just if you can say your social media handle and everything.
Oh my God, totally. Like, subscribe. My social media is Shark Girl Madison. My OnlyFans is, I'm just kidding. That's why I have to do Shark Week. Everyone got excited for a minute there. You went to Google it, don't lie.
Like, what? I was like, send me the link.
And the other page is Project Hiu, just Project HIU. And that's our work in Indonesia. Hiu is the Indonesian word for shark. So it's just Project Shark, very simple. But that's where you can follow some of the stuff we're doing and join a trip. Come to Indonesia, join a trip with us, meet the shark fishermen. That's the best way to contribute and see things firsthand. And yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Doing a trip with you, that will be dream in Indonesia. So that's next. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you, Mari, for your time so much. Stay online for just 1 second. But for the rest of you, thank you for listening to this. If you like and subscribe like Mari, okay? And I will see you in the next episode. Hope you all have a great day.